Jaren Hall, rookie quarterback from BYU, comes in for Cousins. Coach Kevin O'Connell did not name a starter for the Vikings game this week at Atlanta, but I think it's got to be Jaren Hall, right?
It feels like it's going to be Hall, at least for this week. We'll see what they do at the trade deadline. I mean, there have been rumors bannered about that maybe they'd be interested in Jameis Winston.
You don't bring him in this week and start him.
Absolutely, yeah. We were Dave Ross and I were talking about that on the Look Ahead here on VSiN last night. It's going to be Jaren Hall no matter what, no matter who you trade for, whether you bring in a Jameis Winston or a Jacoby Brissett or somebody like that. And look, I got to think Minnesota's got to be looking at the trade market, but kind of a tough beat there for Kirk Cousins and the fact that they started 1-4. He loses Justin Jefferson. He wills this team to like 3 straight wins, right? And this is his contract year, and for all the people that, besmirch Kirk Cousins, be careful what you wish for because you're going to miss him a hell of a lot.
Yeah, the Vikings won in Chicago 19-13 without Jefferson. That was an ugly game. They beat the 49ers on Monday night, and then they go to Green Bay and beat the Packers. So they get 2 division wins. They get back to 4-4, but now they got to find a quarterback. And no matter what you think of Kirk Cousins, and I've been critical of him in the past. He hasn't come up big in big games or playoff games, but he's one of the good guys in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He is a great guy, and you hate to see anybody like that take some sort of season-ending injury. That Wes, at his age, is a more serious injury because it's tough to come back from a torn Achilles when you're older as a quarterback. And the Vikings, they had a chance to make a run at the Lions to win this division at 4-4 because it doesn't look like the Packers are going to do it, and we know the Bears are not going to do it.
Yeah.
So what team can put some heat on Detroit? Looked like Minnesota. But now you got to find a quarterback, and I think this greatly reduces the Vikings' chances of catching the Lions and making the playoffs because you're going from an experienced quarterback who's been there, who's got some momentum, leading you to 3 wins in a row, to a rookie who really has no idea how to win in this league. Okay, so are you going to make a deal for a veteran? You're going to go out and get Jameis Winston. You're going to go get Ryan Tannehill. Could you sign Carson Wentz or Colt McCoy?
Right.
I've heard Colt McCoy's name thrown around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of those guys are going to be the answer. But you do have to go out and get somebody. You got to give it a shot because I think if you roll with Jaren Hall, you're going to be in trouble.
Because I feel like there's almost no decision here because I don't know how much the Vikings are in the race. I think that number 7 spot, whoever gets that 7 spot in the NFC is like wide open. Uh-huh. You can get several teams, and I think the Vikings certainly in the mix for that. But, everybody's like, oh, the Vikings, they just got a tank. You can't possibly tank that bad and get a Caleb Williams or a Drake May because you got some bad teams down there in the NFL that are going to be right in the mix for that. Now, some of those bottom teams clearly already have drafted their quarterback, but you look at some of these teams, man, like you look at like Denver or you look at the Giants, Washington or Arizona, Chicago. Those guys are going to be spoken for. So Minnesota can't possibly tank that bad.
Who was saying they should tank? They got 4 wins.
I know. You just get the people like, oh, it's over, because people are reactionary, Matt. And, not just fans, but sports bettors. And that's what you don't want to always be. You don't want to be reactionary. So, just seeing random tweets on Twitter like, oh, my God, it's over now, tank. It's like, Minnesota's not that awful to tank. Let's see them get Justin Jefferson back in a couple weeks, and see when that's going to happen. And I'm just looking. I mean, he's on IR with the hamstring, but he's not out for the season. So let's see if he gets back.
You don't tank when you're 4-4 anyway. Next 5 games for the Vikings this week: at Atlanta, home against the Saints, at the Broncos, home against the Bears. And at the Raiders. I mean, that's a manageable schedule.
That's a very winnable schedule. I mean, I know you got 2 at the Lions and you got that road trip to Cincinnati, but yeah, Vikings are absolutely in it because when you look at that NFL playoff picture, I think that we look and we think, okay, there's 5 teams barring disaster that are probably going to play. Number 1, the Vikings, right there, at least in the wild card. I think they're the 3rd spot, but I think we know Philadelphia, Dallas, Seattle, San Francisco, Detroit, likely to be playoff teams. And then somebody's getting in, winning the NFC South. Somebody has to. But Minnesota's right there with New Orleans and maybe Tampa Bay. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFC. So wild card is very much doable for Minnesota.
But with Jaren Hall at quarterback, I'm not so sure. And Jaren Hall was a good quarterback at BYU, but we're seeing some rookie quarterbacks, even like Bryce Young, struggle mightily in the NFL. I'm not sure Jaren Hall is going to be ready for what's coming for him. The Vikings, 5-point dogs at Atlanta this week. I think the look-ahead number on this game, Wes, was like Atlanta minus 1.5?
Yeah, it was 1.5. And look, it hasn't been officially announced yet because Arthur Smith was like, no, we didn't take Desmond Ridder out for performance issues or anything. So because it was Taylor Heineke, and look, and it was obviously concussion issues as well for Ridder, so we'll see if he clears protocol. But Taylor Heineke, that Atlanta team looked like it had more energy when he came in the game. And that's what he does. Remember that he did that with the Commanders.
Sure.
Where he's kind of got a ceiling and he's got limited ability. But, man, he fires that team up and they play for him. And
fire up is the right way to put it. He's like a spark plug to the offense.
And I think Atlanta, this is obviously accounting for Cousins. I think it went to like 4 last night when we were talking about it on the look ahead. Now seeing some 5s. I think the market thinks Taylor Heineke's going.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.